Good day, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. We are together with the Prof.Dr. Hüseyin Özdeşer. He is the chairman of Economics Department and also the founder of the European Union Relations Department of the Nearest University. Together we will hold a conversation, a short dialogue on the recent economic events in the world. And first of all, this interview has been prepared due to huge efforts of your former student, Mr. Abid Bahrami, who is now representative of the IPE Club in Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. And he sends you very nice greetings.
Thanks a lot.
So our first question is why the EU is important to the world economics and politics?
Yes, when we say the EU, what we mean is the second economical superpower in the world. Why? Because after the collapse of the Europe as a whole in the Second World War, the EU was established by the financial aids of the United States. It was very important for the future of the globalization, the standing of the EU. Why? Because as long as the EU is built by the financial aids of the United States, that means in the Europe continent there will be establishment of a strong, powerful, free trade and free economic structure. When we say free, or in other words, globalized economy, what we mean is lifting up all the economic and political borders between the countries. Now we know that total number of the EU is 28. Will England or the United Kingdom still be there or not? It's a question mark. But as much as we know, in a recent time, it's going to leave the EU. That's the other issue. But as we know, after the establishment of the EU, all the previous Soviet bloc countries or Eastern bloc countries, such as Czech Republic, Slovakia, Romania, all these countries now are the part of the EU. In other words, are the part of the globalized economic system. So, the EU did one thing for the United States. It decreased the number of the countries which are closed economies. So that means more open economies, bigger market for the United States. Especially after the collapse of the Soviet Union, United States became the sole leader of the whole world, economically and in political way. Why? Because it has the strongest army, and at the same time, it is the leader country in NATO. So, by the EU, the United States decreased the number of the countries and maybe made them to a zero level who used to be socialist countries before, and also it blocked all the possibilities of any socialist act to be created in the European continent. So in this way, when we look at the picture, we cannot say EU is a rival of the United States. But what we can say, in some issues, in some political cases, in some economical cases, they can be as rivals. But as the EU is not a superpower and will never be a superpower as the United States, due to the fact that it doesn't have any strong army. And America, politically, does not let the European Union to have its own army. Because if we look at the EU for the time being, NATO is already there as a military power, where most of the EU countries, member countries, are also inside. So, what America says is that you don't need another military power except in NATO, because NATO is already there and is ready to protect all the member countries. So what America wants is that to increase the number of the countries who are member of the NATO. So in this case, America permits to the EU to be a strong economy, a superpower in economy, but not a super country as America, based on its military power. So in this case, what we can say is that economically, the EU is working for the United States, because EU is the guarantor power for the globalization act for the whole Europe continent. And as you know, the EU doesn't have its own borders now. So today they have 28, maybe tomorrow they will have 29, maybe later 30, and more than that. So that means the EU is a dynamic process. So it's a continuing process. That means, for example, Turkey is a country for the time being. So if Turkey joins it as well, so Turkey will be a part of the EU as well. Cyprus Island, as we know, the half of it is a part of the EU as well. So the EU is burning the fire of globalization in all these regions. So that's what America wants. America wants a global world economically and politically, but what it wants is to be leader of this globalized world. Now, the question is, when we come to the Brexit, is there a threat for the EU to be collapsed in the future? Of course there is. Because the EU is now standing based on its advantages that it supplies to the people living in in the EU. As we know, most of the developed, industrialized and rich countries now existing in the EU, especially in the leadership of the Germany. Of course, Brexit showed to the world that there is a big danger for the EU to be collapsed in the future if the EU authorities continue not to see the problems and not to search the ways to find solution for the problems. Because for the long time, when some of the previously socialist European countries, Eastern European countries, joined to the EU, like Poland, Bulgaria, Romania, Czech, Slovakia, what United Kingdom said was, these countries are the previously socialist countries, so they're very new beginners for the free market economic system. So what we have to do is that we have to wait for a while until their economy recovers, becomes strong enough, and then we can give them the right of the free movement of factors of production, especially free movement of the people. But Europe didn't care about this. What Europe authorities said was that, okay, these countries are members of the EU, so we cannot block the freedom, right of the people to move. So what happened? A lot of people, unemployed people, moved to England. And every year in this process, when they became member with the Cyprus since 2004, 182,000 people every year settled in the United Kingdom as laborers and continue to live there. Imagine every year the population of the United Kingdom rises 182,000 people. So people in the United Kingdom and the United Kingdom authorities said that we have to find a solution for this. Otherwise, this will cause a lot of British citizens to lose their job opportunities in the future. But unfortunately, in Europe, this was the, of course, biggest reason for the United Kingdom to leave the EU. Of course, there are some other reasons as well, because, you know, the aim of the European Union, they don't say this openly in many cases, because England said, we joined this as a trade union bloc. But after a while, the EU is a drawing way to be European United States. So England's United Kingdom says, we don't want this. Because the aim of the euro using the single currency was, if you will be a state as America, then you must have a single currency, which is the euro. Then they started to print this money and to use this money. But England said, we don't want this single currency case, because they said, we don't want any other currency except our currency, because they said, if you don't have your own currency, that means you don't have your independence. So sovereignty equals to the single currency. I mean, domestic currency. So after a while, as we know, previous Germany Central Bank became European Central Bank. And who was the leader? Which country was the leader of the euro? It was Germany. Because Germany is the strongest economy in the EU and in the world as well. Because if you look at its stability, it's very strong. Why? Because in engineering, Germany is number one, is the strongest country in the world. And what United Kingdom said was, the other name of Deutsche Mark is euro. So they didn't want this. They said, if we accept the euro, that means we are accepting the leadership of the Germany for the EU. They didn't want this. Because there are now two big powers in the EU. One is Germany because of its economy, the other one is France because of its nuclear power.
Okay, since we already touched upon the issue of Brexit, which was the headline throughout the 2019, why do you think Brexit is important for international politics and economics?
It is important in the way that it gave a threat for the future of the EU that if England becomes successful, the United Kingdom, to leave the EU, this will give a message to other EU member countries. Then they will say, if England can, why not us? So, also, this may encourage the countries which are not happy to be a member of the EU to look at the ways how we can leave the EU as well. Because they will say, if England could do, why not us? This is one of the most important reasons. The other important reason why it's important for international economics and politics is that the euro. Because euro, England, even though realized the required conditions for Maastricht Treaty to be a member of the European Monetary Union, it didn't want itself. They said, we don't want it. What England did was, let's see, and then we decide what to do. But unfortunately, people in the EU, in the United Kingdom, never accepted to use any currency except the euro. So, if Brexit gives the threat for the future of the EU that there is a risk of collapse, then the euro might be a currency of a bloc, or economic and political bloc, which has a risk of to be collapsed. So this is also giving some risks for the economists for the future value of the euro. Because we are not talking about a currency such as dollar of a single country. We're talking about a currency, only it has 90 members now within the EU and other 9 countries is out. But there is a question mark. Of course, the euro must be the currency of all the EU member countries, but will it be or will not be? That's a big question. So that means the process for the euro is continuing, but for the dollar it is finished. So for a currency which is under the process of being a currency of other members as well, the risks play a more vital role for its future. So in this case, politically, there is a threat for the collapse of the EU. Economically, there is a threat for the collapse of the European Monetary Union. As we know, after the euro came into action since 2002, in the world there are 3 domain currencies. One is euro, dollar, second and third yen. So it means one of the domain currency, dominant currency in the world is under a threat. Because, as I said, if you remember, there was a big economic crisis in Greece, and for a while Greece told to get out of the euro and to start to its domestic currency. So if any other country in the EU, such as Greece, has similar economic problems, then they may think to get out of the euro, or they may think to get out of the EMU. Then it will be very difficult for the EU to stop them, because then they will say, if England has done it, why are you blocking us? So, politically and economically, for the future of the EU, there is a big threat for the world economics and politics. Because we must not forget that EU is realizing about 34% of the world trade, and also the production of the world, about 1/3. So if anything happens in this bloc where the 34% of the world's production and trade being realized, that means most of the countries who have economical and political relations with the EU will also be affected. For example, if you look at Turkey, Turkey is one of the countries which is a candidate country since 1999 by the Helsinki Treaty, and at the same time, Turkey is a member of the customs union. So anything happens in Europe will directly affect Turkey. Anything happens in Europe will directly affect America. Anything happens in Europe will directly affect Canada and all other countries which have direct relations with the EU. We must not forget another thing. EU is a teacher for whole world organizations which are aiming to have an economic or a monetary union, because it's a model for them, like ECOWAS. If you look at Nigeria, the other African countries, what they want is, they want to establish a single currency nowadays. But how they will do, how they will move, everything will be similar, has to be similar to the EU. So, anything happens for the future of the EU, for its politic union or economic union, then this will also affect all the other possibilities for organizations which are aiming to have a unification similar to the EU. So anything in the EU, politically and economically, I think it's similar. When you throw a stone to the sea, there will be waves, and these waves will move the other waves as well. So it's going to cause a chain reaction, anything in the EU.
Okay. Let us speak a bit about the energy, because energy nowadays is very hot topic, especially in the Mediterranean. So how do you see the energy problem in the world and in the region we live in?
Okay. Energy, as you said, is now problem of the world since the industrialized started in the EU. If we go a little bit to the history, when the industrialized started in the EU, in the European countries and the world, how they could be able to run this industry with energy. So they searched, where is energy? In Middle East, okay. If it's in the Middle East, that means who owns Turkey and the region there, that means they are closer to the energy. So that's why a war started against Turkey by many powerful countries in the beginning of 19. And since then, the attacks to Turkey or the attacks to occupy some parts of the Middle East have not stopped. Continued, and it still continues. What's happening in Iraq now? What's happening in Syria now? What's happening in Libya? What is happening in Yemen? All these are the reasons of the need of the energy for the industrialized countries. Now the problem is, unfortunately, even though the Arabic countries, most of them who are existing now in the Middle East, they couldn't see one important thing during the war of Iraq. When America attacked Iraq, they thought that this is only an attack to Saddam Hussein. They didn't think that this is the start for them. They didn't think that after the Iraq, they will start to occupy the other countries. If the countries in the Middle East were united politically and economically, just like the one in the EU, then America wouldn't be able to be successful. But as the main problem in Middle East countries, unfortunately, they don't have any democratic system. They didn't, because everybody thinks that democracy is very cheap. No, democracy is very expensive, and Europe paid for this. Europe died for this democracy by the French Revolution. Nobody gave it democracy. Nobody gave human rights to the EU. They fought for it, and they owned it. So the people in the Middle East, they did nothing for the democracy. They chose some leaders for themselves, and they saw their leaders as the holy people. They saw their leaders as the prophets, and they accepted to live under their regulations. Okay, Cyprus, as it's known, is one of the oldest problems in the islands. And unfortunately, it is not, or it couldn't be solved until now. The main reason is the Greek Cypriots in the island, they see the Turkish Cypriots as a minority. And what they believe is that the minority cannot have any right in any way, under any circumstances, to have any leadership for the people who are majority, who are in the majority position in the island. Because when we say, okay, if we are going to have an agreement, then what we have to do is that, then say 2 years, one president will be from Turkish Cypriots, the other for 2 years from the South Cyprus. Because we cannot accept all the time a Greek leader, and Turkish and the Greek Cypriots cannot accept all the time a Turkish leader. Okay, then what we can do is that then we can divide to the periods, the leadership. But unfortunately, the Greeks is never ready to accept this, because they see minority power, the Turkish Cypriots, and minority people can never have demand. What they mostly want to give us is the rights that the Turkish people have in Greece, which is not acceptable for us, because if you are in minority in a country, it doesn't mean that you will have minority rights. No. If Turkish Cypriots are the part of the island in economic way and political way, okay, if our population is less than the Greeks, we can have less share. But when it comes to the leadership, when it comes to authority, that's something else. And the other thing, what the Greeks is doing as a mistake, I believe, the only guarantor for Turkish Cyprus is Turkish army. And what they say is zero military power in island. How we can trust to the world? How we can trust to Europe? Because it's front of our eyes what's happening in Iraq. It's front of our eyes what's happening in Syria. And not any country is helping to these people. So how can I trust to the world or to the international authorities or to the United Nations that they will protect the Turkish Cypriots if they have any similar position? It's not possible for us to trust. So for Turkish Cypriots, the only authority that can be trusted is Turkish army. And the first requirement of the Greeks in all the talks is Turkish army should get out, and there will not be any military power in the island. Okay, but if you compare the number of the people, they are in majority, we are in minority. So if there is a fight that starts between us, so who will protect the rights of Turkish Cypriots, or who will protect the Turkish Cypriots? But if we were in the same position as, say, 1 million then 1 million us, okay, then it might be a trial period at least. But under this circumstance, what Turkish Cypriot people lived as an experience in past, and what the people are living now in front of their eyes, so all the trust of Turkish Cypriots for the international authorities is very close to zero now. Because United Nations, international authorities, they could do nothing to stop the war in Middle East, in Iraq, in Syria. The new wars are starting now in Libya. So instead of stopping the existing wars, they are not even available to stop the new beginning of the wars. Now we have seen what happened between America and Iran. So how can I trust now to America? I can see what they're doing now. How I can trust the United Nations? Because they are also not aiming to do anything against the industrialized rich countries. Why? Because huge financial support are going from European countries and America to the United Nations. Of course they will continue to protect the rights of the rich industrialized countries. So what I believe is that, unfortunately, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the democracy, the justice of the world also collapsed. Why? Because now we're in a position that America is doing whatever it wants, and there is no authority, unfortunately, to stop America what it wants to do and what it wants to reach its aim, which is opening the energy in the Middle East to be more powerful, because that's the rule of capitalism. Capitalism is feeding itself by the blood of the people. If more people die, that means America can be stronger. So the rule is very simple. The people living in Middle East should die, and they will get their reserves to be richer. For capitalism, there is not any justice. There is not any holy beliefs in the way of reaching to the target. Because we know that the America is being ruled by the Jewish capitalist powers. And what the America now doing is trying to protect the rights of the Jewish people living in Israel. And that's one of the reasons why America is keeping its eyes very close and very dangerously on Iran, because Iran in the region is the biggest threat for Israel. So if this is the reality in the world, nobody must accept or must give any tolerance in their beliefs that Turkish Cypriots will trust to any power except Turkey.
You have mentioned the Cyprus problem. So this Cyprus issue, Cyprus problem, Cyprus question, however we call it, It's already like more than 50 years.
And it seems like it's going to be more than 50 years if it goes like that.
Yeah, so why it is not solved up to now? Like, what is the reason behind it?
The main reason behind it, the Turkish Cypriots by the Greek Cypriots are not accepted as the equal partners. What they think is that, they say that you are minority and you will only have the minority power, we are the majority, we will rule the islands, and according to the EU laws and regulations, whatever the rights are given to minorities, those minorities will be given to you, and you will only have those minorities. You will not have any authority about ruling and regulating in Cyprus government. You will not have that power. Only the Turkish people living in Greece, whatever their right is as minority in Greece, you will have the same minority rights. If this is the case, it's not possible for us to accept this, because at least as population, we have the right to own 30% of this island. Finished. That means we are the partner, and we have to be partner in regulating the laws, the regulations, economy, and everything. We can never accept anything except this. And the other main reason, the Greek Cypriots, they don't want Turkish army in these islands. They say Turkish army must move out of the island, even one soldier must not stay here, then we can talk about what to do next to live together. But for Turkish Cypriots, is more than a red line to talk about the Turkish troops to stay in the island or not. Turkish troops is the only and the most important guarantor power for Turkish Cypriots. It's not possible for Turkish Cypriots to accept any agreement that will not give the possibility of Turkish troops to stay in the islands. As I said previously, the world showed us that there is not any trust in international authorities. Beginning the United Nations. If you ask me a Turkish Cypriot, do you trust? Because when you go through the definition of the United Nations, that's what I learned while I was in university, the aim of the United Nations is to keep the international peace and security. There is no international peace, and there is no international security in the world. That means the United Nations is not working. So how can I trust to the authorities of the United Nations? How can I trust that they will stop any war starts here? Or if anything happens here without the Turkish troops, how can I be sure, or how Turkish Cypriots can be sure that we will be protected by any international authority, by the European Union? If they don't care about the millions of people in Middle East, why they will care about only 300,000 people in Cyprus? Nobody can make us believe for this. We can see how the world is changing. We can see how the world, the justice made to be collapsed by the biggest superpower, which is America. So America is doing whatever it wants, and there is no any power to stop America. So for Turkish Cypriots, without Turkey, without the inclusion of Turkey in Ireland, not any possible solution.
Okay, and in the light of the recent events, many analysts they are relating the events in the Libya, Syria, and Iraq to the energy resource issue in the Middle East. So, which impact does really those Middle Eastern energy resources mean to the world?
Of course, energy in economy means everything for industry. So, if today Arabic countries, the Middle East countries, stop supplying petrol to Europe, maybe after 1 month there will not be Europe economy. Because we have seen this in the beginning of 1970s, between Arab and Israel war, that for a while the petrol wasn't supplied to Europe, and there were big economic crises. So, for the continuation of their industry to work, they need this energy. Without this energy, they will be in collapse. So, who owns the energy, not only the energy, who owns the cheap energy, then that's the economical leader in the country. So America, they need the energy. That's why they are in there. The England, they need the energy. That's why they're there. And also, they know that this energy is so powerful. And if energy is so powerful, as much as to be able to rule the world, then America and other superpowers, they will never let these countries to have democracy, to have human rights, or to have any kind of regulations as America, Europe, and other developed countries. Because they know that if they have democracy, if they have the similar regimes that in the developed countries there are, then they will be able to own and to rule their energy. That time they will be so powerful. Now, we see there are only dictators. And these dictators are already taking the petrol reserves for themselves, and they only give very little to the people. And already these leaders, for their future, for their safety, for their wealth, they are in coordination with America. So this is what America wants. Dictators in these Middle East countries, good relations with them, and withdraw their energy whenever is required. So under the circumstances, if any country wants democracy, or if any country tries to be powerful in military way, like Iran trying to produce some nuclear weapons, then they don't want it. They start to make embargoes on this country. Why France is producing, why America is producing, why Russia is producing, why not Iran? Because it's a threat for Israel. But how the problem is, how the America can see itself a right to tell to Iran, stop producing nuclear weapons. Because it's only the superpower. Because they are the biggest supporter of the United Nations. Because I remember that when America said, I will attack to Iraq because it has the mass destruction weapons, they said, we don't have to wait the decision of the United Nations. We can attack anytime we want because we believe that this is our right. What happened? Did they find any mass destruction weapon? No. And even what happened, I remember, they searched, even some people came from United Nations, they also searched, and they said there is no mass destruction weapons. No, they said there is, and they attacked. And also, the other thing I believe, Daesh, for example, I have no any doubt that Daesh is an organization just produced by America to create itself reasons to stay in Middle East. Just the same thing they have done before between the war, Afghanistan and Soviet Union. They created Al-Qaeda. They created Al-Qaeda against Russia. They used Al-Qaeda, then they create themselves a reason to occupy Afghanistan, and now they create another reasons for themselves by creating Daesh to exist in the Middle East. So what they do is that they create always political and economic uncertainty in these areas. So they will not be never able to have their own regime, democracy, to be able to own their resources. So by this way, America is giving them a chance. Only these resources will be owned by some dictators, and by these dictators I have very good relations, because the dictators know that as Saddam, if they don't have good relations, they will not be there anymore. So they know this. And because of this, they always have good relations. So what they do is, they don't change the prices of the oil, they don't play with the prices of the oil, they move according to the requirements of America. And on the other hand, now the Iraq government has made a decision that we don't want the American troops in Iraq anymore. But who invited these people? You invited them to give you democracy. You invited them to save you from Saddam. But I'm sure that if you ask the Iraqi people, who do you prefer, Saddam or America, they will 10 times prefer now Saddam. Because during the Saddam time, Iraq didn't have these problems. So, if what I'm trying to say is that, if you don't have your own democracy, if you don't fight for your own democracy, if you don't go for it, then, and if you wait someone else to give you this democracy, you will never like it at the end. Because if you expected from America to give you democracy, if you expected from America to save you from Saddam, they should know that they will be worse and worse. And that's what's happening now. And now they shout that America has to go out, but it's too late. You make them come, so you have to pay for this. If they fight for democracy, and one day I hope that they will have their own democracy similar to one in Turkey, similar to one in Europe, similar to one in America, I'm sure that they will be in much, much better situation.
Okay, we really thank you on behalf of the IPE Club for your sharing your knowledge and opinions within these hottest days here. We were together with the Prof.Dr. Hüseyin Özdeşer and hope to see you in our next series.